welcome to the channel. This is going to be our first in possibly a few podcasts that we're going to do. It's me and a friend of mine, Lamar, and we're just kind of going over different things, just life and gaming and movies and pop culture-y stuff. So we hope you enjoy the podcast. And as always, you know, if it's your first time here, like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. I make other content. I do episode reviews for Star Trek The Next Generation, do some movie reviews, stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely check out the content, and hope you'll enjoy the podcast here. So, yeah, man, well, back to, we were talking a little bit before the podcast about this channel that we both have enjoyed, Space Ice, and man, dude, I'm telling you, the stuff he puts out is just like the timing, and it's so funny how he kind of comes at the Van Damme and Seagal stuff, you know, like he's a hardcore, like, and it's funny because he's got the two sides. He's like, Van Damme, everything he makes is like legendary, and he's the best ever, and you know he's totally bullshitting, but like, you know, the way he makes it sound like, oh, this is a masterpiece, and like only Van Damme, you know, and oh man, just everything, Street Fighter and Time Cop and all the, you know, even the garbage movies that he made with like next to no budget and like terrible fight scenes that make no sense. And but you know, again, Van Damme is kind of like an Arnold, or kind of like any of these action stars, where it's like they have this peak where they're making top box office dollar, and then they go from that to like just kind of doing it too long. And then it gets to a point where then it's like, okay, low budget, they can't get as good of actors to be in it, so then it's like you've got all these kind of B-tier actors, way lower budget, not as well written, you know, a lot of them eventually don't even go to the movies, like they're straight to DVD kind of stuff, whether it's Seagal, whether it's Stallone never really had that.
Expendables been doing okay for him.
Yeah, and I mean, even the last Rambo and the last Rockies and even the spin-off into Creed went really well, even though he's not really part of it anymore after Creed 1. You know, he's been straight. I mean, I'm not talking really Stallone, but, you know, some of them clearly started taking movies that they were, like, desperate to make something. They were still trying to stay in the limelight, you know, and kind of carry over. I mean, dude, Arnold made a few pretty bad movies near the end of his run, and you know, and then the last.
What were some of the bad ones?
I mean, dude, like I can't even remember. I can't speak on it to say.
The last two old ones that I mean, well, I say old ones, but the last two movies I think they were okay later in his career were like, was it Sixth Day, the one where he was like fighting the devil or something like that? I that was okay.
What was it was like
Collateral.
Yeah, either Collateral, and then there was something else, like Eraser? Was there one with Vanessa Williams?
Was that? That was Eraser.
Okay.
That wasn't bad. What was the one? That was the one where they called it was like the clone. What was the one with the clone? Was that Eraser?
I can't remember. I don't remember any of the details, and I might not have even seen them. You know, I had given up on, like, it was funny because when he was doing all the action movies, and then it was like towards the end when he did like Last Action Hero, he did Kindergarten Cop, and he started leaning a little bit more into the comedy, which like he wasn't bad at. Like he was actually pretty decent in the comedy, but like I remember thinking like, you know what, I don't really want to go see his stuff anymore. Like it just like he's not like, you know, and after like Terminator 3 and Terminator 3 was like the last time I feel like he was still trying to hold on to that, like, I'm a badass, you know, I'm whatever. Everything else after that was a little, like, not quite as believable, or like you had to age him up, like, oh, a retired CIA agent who's like 50, and, you know, kind of almost like Liam Neeson-ish, where like, you know, it's like he used to be the shit, but now he's in retirement, but like his son gets kidnapped and he has to like go after someone or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, at least with some of these actors, you know, when it comes to action movies, especially, a lot of them, the majority of them, unlike Seagal, you know, they know when to back down. You know, I would say like, because right now Arnold isn't doing anything, Stallone really isn't doing anything. No, Stallone actually was I heard it was a pretty good TV show. I forget the name.
Oh, yeah, it's very similar. So I feel like there's the show he was in. Um, and there was also a show that Jeremy Renner was in, and I felt like they were both a similar concept. They were like mayor or head of like a city or kind of a gang, and then actually Sylvester Stallone was in two at the same time. Do you remember that? He was in two shows. He was in one where he was a mob boss. He had been in jail and got out, and then he was like kind of starting his gang again. No, I don't think so. It was something else. That was like a movie or something back.
That was a movie, though.
But then at the same time, he was in another show on like a different, like Amazon Prime or something, where he was like the mayor of a city, and I was like, wait, like this guy's in two different shows, like that are literally like, but the opposite of like one he's the good guy and one he's the bad guy, and it's like, I'm just like, damn, like how many shows you got to be in at the same time? And then Jeremy Renner was in a show too, kind of like that, like where it was like some city and he's like mayor or something of the city, and I just remember, and again, like, I mean, the people that are listening might know kind of what we're talking about, but yeah, I mean, Stallone's been straight, like, and I'm not, but to me, it's really Seagal, Van Damme, some of these that like they made about 5 or 10 movies too many,
Yeah.
and they're pretty laughable. Like the choreography, and then Seagal made about 20 too many. Like,
God.
and all those ones that Space Ice covers are just hilarious because the stunt work. Now, interesting. I watched it, kind of a little piece or a documentary about what movie was it? Above the Law or something. One of the last movies where Seagal at the end has to fight Jai White.
I know
Michael Jai White.
Michael Jai White,
Yeah, he has to fight him at the end, and like there was like this little beef where like, and he's been in an interview where he's like, oh, what do you think of Michael Jai White? And he's like, can I laugh in your face or whatever? And so on the set there was all this controversy, and he was like, he would do choreography or he would do a fight scene, but he'd be like really hitting the guys, even though they're supposed to be, mock fighting for the scene. And I mean, he was like messing the guys up, and not because he's so skilled. It's like, dude, they're intentionally thinking he's not going to hit them for for the fight, for the choreography. And so it's like when you think that somebody's going to whiff a punch like over your head or narrowly miss you, and then they actually end up like jawing you in the neck or something, it's like, what the hell? And so they were saying on set that like it was so bad that like they were encouraging Michael Jai White to actually fuck Seagal up at the end, and he didn't, due to trying to be professional and not be a bully. But I just thought, I was like, damn, that's crazy.
He did get his though. It was on Joe Rogan. It was a few years back where they talked about the same thing you just mentioned. How Seagal, I don't know what movie it was, and he tried that shit with the stunt dude or somebody, and he did something to Seagal and he ended up shitting on himself. He made Seagal shit on himself.
That was in the same video, and they were talking about how that basically he acted like he was the toughest around, and that he said nobody on set can get me in a sleeper hold or something or whatever, or if you put me in a sleeper hold, you won't be able to knock me out or something from it. So the one guy did, and he like passed out and shit himself, and then he went to the bathroom. And apparently Kevin Hart was either in that movie on set or something, because he was saying like that Steven Seagal ran out and smelled like shit, and I'm like, damn, Kevin Hart was even acting back then. Like,
right.
I've seen some really early movies that Kevin Hart was in, and I was like, damn, I forgot he was like kind of an up and comer in like, what is it, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, it's so funny when you talk about Steven Seagal. It remind me of that comedian. I forget who it is, his name. When he was talking about Seagal as like an expert at everything.
Mm.
Oh, what kind of dog is that? Oh, that's a Shih Tzu Hound. How do you know that? Oh, I've been training dog for 55 years. You ever see that shit? And then he'll turn around and ask him something else about martial arts. And he's like, oh, martial arts, yeah, I've been doing that for 75 years. And then he was like, what's that helicopter? You hear that? Yeah, it's called a skip. You know why they call it that? Because the sound it makes. Skip, 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 skip. How do you, he was like, well, how do you know that? How do you know that so much about helicopters? Oh, I was a pilot for 25 years. It's like he's an expert on everything, and it's, and like, he talking about how he hate people like that, but how Steven Seagal kind of like rebels in that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, tell me you've seen it.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my god, I'm gonna send it to you. I'll send it
Okay.
to you later on. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man. So he
Man,
had done at least.
I wanna touch base real quick. I know we're gonna
Mhm.
talk maybe about a few different things. I do want to
Yeah.
mention that my thing, and I just kind of want to get this off my chest. And I find it's just frustrating to me, the situation that I was telling you about the females, and how it's just
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah,
dude, I don't know what it is with the online dating thing. And I find that like half the girls I run into, and I'm not putting it on any one person. I mean, this is, I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
how many times I've talked to you
Oh
about
yeah, I know.
situations like this, about where like I meet someone and man, it's going really great, and then out of nowhere I get blindsided by like cold feet, change
Yeah.
their mind, on a dime, like so into, like it seems like everything's going great, we're so happy, and then boom, it's like I get blindsided, and next thing I know, I wake up to like a Dear John text, or whatever. And it's like, it could be even the same day. I mean, I've had it
Yeah.
be like, oh, this is so great. And someone telling me they love me, or someone telling like, oh, I can't wait to see you next week, or whatever, in a few days.
Yeah.
And then turn around and be like, yeah, I don't know, this isn't working, or, and I'm just like,
I know, man. The thing with you is I feel you were just born in the wrong time, man. Because you are a gentleman when it comes to these ladies, man. But it's like a lot of women, and also combined with the paranoia that the internet has created,
yeah,
it seems like it's hard for women to trust a guy when he really is trying to be genuine. And I think them having cold feet, is a byproduct of that. Because
yeah,
when you pour on the charm and you tell them everything they want to hear, especially when you're sincere and you really want this yourself, you're not just telling them this
mm-hmm,
to get in their pants, and they get cold feet. They're like, no, this is too good to be true. Then they get
yeah.
standoffish,
Or they get
and
scared from their own feelings, and they
yeah,
then
yeah,
that creates doubt, and they might
yeah,
talk to a friend, or they may talk to someone who questions like how fast things are moving along, and they don't know the connection that me and her have. So
right,
at a quick glance from an outside observer, um, they tell a friend that they're in love after a few dates, or a week, or a month, and their friend might be like, are you crazy, like you just met the guy, like are you sure you've really thought, and like then they find maybe a friend who they trust implicitly, and they trust everything that they say, and so they plant a couple seeds of doubt, and next thing you know, they sit with it for 2 or 3 hours, and they start to think, maybe maybe I am moving too fast, or maybe I don't really feel what, maybe I was just got carried away and wrapped up in it, and
yeah.
so it's crazy,
Definitely,
man.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely a point for point. But at the end of the day, if chemistry is chemistry, and if you have something genuine with the person, I don't think you should fight it, because it's not like every person that you have a conversation with, you have that type of chemistry.
Oh no. And we
You know
know
what I'm
that I've
saying?
had the other, where like we've had a really great chemistry over the phone, good conversation. We meet and it's not there in person.
Right,
So
right.
it's unique when it's there's that like almost chemical like spark or attraction in person, where it's just like, man, this is amazing. This is wonderful. And so for me, I don't have fear in that regard. It's like, hey, if this is good and everything's going great, I'm looking forward, and I'm only looking forward. But I feel like, especially when some of these women have had divorces
Oh
and
yeah,
have had kids, and there's fear, there's doubt of like, well, it didn't work last time, and then I got stuck as a single mom and whatever, and I had to, I lost my home that we had built together, and I had to like get my own place and do all this different stuff, and and I've been
yeah,
trying to make it on my own, and it's been tough, and having to sacrifice a lot and whatever, and maybe live what they consider under their means, like they'd rather have a bigger house and more things and more financial security. And
right.
so I get that, like that creeps in, and then there's fear of like, well, am I going to make the same mistake? Am I going to be going through another divorce here in a few years, if I let things get too carried away now and jump
Yeah,
into something like, and I mean, dude, honestly, like it doesn't matter. I'm willing to take it slow. Like I'm willing to let things marinate for a minute. But it's like when the connection's so intense in the beginning, like it can be intense, but we can still take it slow at the same time. Like just because it's intense and we decide that we're in love within a few dates or a month or whatever, doesn't mean, oh, well, now we have to get married in 3 weeks. Like
no, of
we could
course not.
still be together for a year or two before we decide we want to take things to another level. the possibility of living together or marriage or whatever. All that can take its time. But it's like, well, if I'm crazy about you, I'm crazy about you. Like, what?
Right.
What?
Exactly. I agree with that. And that's an opinion that I share because if the chemistry is there, the love is there, acknowledge it as soon as possible. If the feelings are mutual, um, nothing worse than, well, because it's a gamble when you also do that. But like I said, you have to make sure the feelings are mutual. When you do that. But if the chemistry is undeniable, then what's understood don't need to be explained. It just happens naturally. But once again, even if the woman initially does like have that chemistry with you, you have had that happen a lot of times, and then you guys hit it off, and then after a day or two, they start to get cold feet because they start to feel a little like, wow, this guy might be, a little too much, and then you got to say you have to dial it back a little bit, to let them kind of, let them know that you're not trying to rush them or anything like that, and that you're willing to be patient with them because you have to, you have to be patient with women, and as long as you get your feelings out there to them and let them know you did your job, you can never sit back and say, okay, well, I didn't let her know how I felt. I put it out there. I let her know I want to be more than friends. Now the ball's in her court.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So yeah, but right now,
well,
situation is, man, I'm not gonna say that.
No, and I mean,
I'm just gonna let that marinate.
Again, so I'll see how things go with this. But I mean, it's not even so much about this. It's just it's been in general. Like, it's been, there's been times that like, you tell women you love them, and then it's like I got hit by the George Costanza where she just basically shrugs it off and says "oh" or thanks, and then doesn't say it in return, and that's always kind of awkward. And then there's also ones that have said it in return and promised the world and said all these things like, whatever other ones that I was saying back a while ago, and then it's like, oh, I made mistakes, and I shouldn't have done what I did, and I shouldn't have dumped you, and I was just in a bad headspace or whatever. So then the mistake that they made before with me, they pretty much almost turn around and make it identically again, but then it kind of in reverse, because then this time they're like, oh, well, we tried again. Last time it was a mistake to dump you and whatever. This time, I'm going to do it the right way and dump you for the right reasons and not for the wrong reason. It's like they almost like want to make sure that it's like they get back with me, and then it's like, nope, still something's missing or something's wrong or something's, whatever. And if that's the case, it's fine. But it's like the first 2 days to have like, someone make you a key and to be hearing conversation about like, where we're going to be living in a few years, and that the possibility of like a job could be moved somewhere, different scenarios. And it's like, so you hear that conversation and you're like, well, wow, I guess we're pretty serious already, and then, and so again, keeping it vague and all the stuff. But I mean, again, it's still just, it throws me for a loop a little bit when I'm like, well, wait, damn, and meeting some of the family again. And the next thing I know, it's like, poof, right back to how it was before. It's like, well, nope, and so stuff happens, man, but it's frustrating. And it's, to me, it's bewildering how quickly somebody can change what they think or how they feel. Based on whatever's going on in their life. Like, to tell one person I love you and I'm so glad that you're giving me a second chance, and then like within a week's time or 2 weeks time or whatever, to then have that end abruptly, and it's like, well, damn, like like it makes you, and it hasn't made me cynical, it hasn't made me like distrust everyone, but I do, when I hear somebody say they love me, it's like there's a part of me that's like, are they just saying this like in the heat of the moment, or do they really mean it? Because so many times I found myself being told that someone loves me, or somebody really cares deeply for me, or that I'm really important to them, or whatever, or they care a lot about me, however they word it, and then like a week or two later we're done, or I'm ghosted, or they're not returning calls, or whatever it is. And I don't know, I feel like
bro, a lot of that,
no, I feel like, and we've discussed this, that like I feel like some of the online dating and the platform has made people feel like people are expendable. People are easily, you can just throw someone out when you're done with them, wipe your hands, and on to the next, and there's no like, oh well, this is a real person. I really even when you meet these people in real life, like, it's not just a product of being online. I mean, even once you've met someone a few times and you've had interactions and you've exchanged numbers, and maybe they've met a friend or a family member, and they've started to kind of encroach more in your life, and still people don't hesitate to just cut ties, on a whim and say, well, you're done, ghosted, or whatever.
Yeah, it's like back in the day. It's like everything that's happening now with the online dating, all of this shit happened back then. Except now it just happens at a lightning pace. Means you meet the person and they got so many other people's attention, or you know what I'm saying? Especially with the online dating, so many eyes on them. And if they like somebody else and they think they're cuter than you, or they might say they might think they might be a little bit more, conversational than you, they feel like they got a little bit more chemistry, then I think a lot of the reason people get like just straight up rejected after they feel they made a connection with somebody is because they met somebody else. I think that's a huge rate. I think that happens, right?
Yeah,
I think
probably.
Yeah, I really do. And it's that right there. But like I said, back in the day, that happened too. You can date somebody and then, ooh, she's cute, and try to talk to them or whatever. But it was a much slower process. You might date that person for weeks before that happened. But now it could be a matter of hours. In the turn of a day, you can meet her in the morning, conversate with her about lunchtime. By the evening, she's then ghosted you because she found somebody else by dinner. You know what I'm saying? That same day. So it's like it's too convenient, to just be, well, I guess you're fast food dating. That's another way you can look at it. It's a gift and a curse. It's a way to meet a lot of people fast, but it's also a way to get a lot of false hope.
Yeah.
I would purposely just, if I, in a situation where I had to do a lot of online dating, I would just take it with a grain of salt. I wouldn't, even if I connect with somebody and I feel we have great chemistry, I still would take it with a grain of salt. I would not, try to engage. I would always be respectful. Of course, I would want everything to work out, but I would not try to make the woman, feel pressured or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, the guy who probably is the least on her, that dude probably ends up getting. I swear I see it. I've seen it in real life. The dude and I've been that guy who tried to put forth the effort to get the girl and don't get the girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the dude that put in the least amount of fucking effort get the girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Come on, man.
I know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it almost make you want to change your tactic. You want to, and that's another thing. Your tactic when you date. I mean, I think we have also discussed that plenty of times. How you go about things. But do you think personally that you would have to change the tactic? Or do you think it's solely just the women in the mind frame?
I don't know. To me, it's more the mind frame. It's the fact that unfortunately, like, if someone's going through a divorce or someone recently broke up, and it's like, for me, if I broke up with someone legit, like if I broke up with someone, I can turn around and I can move on. But I know a lot of people can't, and men and women, like they just can't get past, and especially if it was a long, let's say it was 8 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, there was a kid together. Some people will they'll just get so desperate. They'll do I mean, I dated someone and her ex was calling, threatening to kill himself while we were on a date,
What?
Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, this is fucked up. And then he was in the hospital because he had tried or something, and then, and here we had a date planned for the weekend, and it was Thanksgiving weekend. So it was a holiday on top of that, and then we made plans. We were supposed to try to do something, and then just never heard from her again. And I was sure she probably ended up going back to her ex, who was manipulative and abusive and whatever. But I swear, I mean, I've met plenty of women who have admitted they've gone back to someone like that a couple times, and some of them then now claim oh, I've learned my lesson, I would never do that. But then there's other ones that they've said they'll never do that, and then they go ahead and do it after we've talked. Right. So it's But hey, I wanted to switch gears here for a minute, and I just because
Okay.
I know you said you had about a half hour or so,
Yeah.
so we're getting to about there. So I wanted to touch base on. Did you see the Elena trailer?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, pretty sick.
So what are your thoughts on? So like for me, I thought the gameplay looks good. Neither of us play six like that, but
Yeah.
she looks cool. I like the alt costume better than her main costume. I think she looks better in her classic style. But they show the healing right at the end, at like the tail
Yeah.
end of the trailer. So I'm so curious, like if it's going to be an alternate version, or like if she has like two different optional level ones or level twos, or if it's CA versus if it's like what is it exactly? How does it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
How much health does she get? All that stuff.
Right. Is it fair? And like, and she should be limited to how many times she can do it. Like, do you know exactly like in Street Fighter 4, like how many times she can get it off? Where is it often as
Yeah,
she has
like I
to get it?
said when we
Or
when we were talking before, like she could do it sometimes two or three times in a match because it was her super, or wait, it was her super, her ultra, but it was the one where if you do a focus attack, like if you absorb a fireball, right, it would like
yeah.
give you that meter. It would charge your meter. So people
Okay.
would throw
Okay.
fireballs against her. People would focus attack, dash backward, and absorb the meter by doing that. And so then she'd be sitting on either a super or an ultra or whatever it was, and so she'd get that pretty quick in the match. And then
Yeah.
as soon as someone got a hit, like, oh, they do a combo and do the kick that knocks them full screen. That like
Yeah.
she does kind of a cartwheel, but like then her kick goes off to the side, kind of like the one, kind of almost like Ryu's donkey kick, but she
Oh
spins
yeah. Yeah.
twice
I know.
and then ends
Probably
it.
she scans again.
Yeah, and
Straight
then
kick.
and
Yeah.
at the end you fly across the screen and they'd cancel into the super, and then I
Yeah.
think she had a way to exit out of the animation. Now Punk, he watched the trailer and I watched his reaction, or listened to it rather, and
What do you say?
he was like, it's kind of messed up. It might be cheap that like the healing is an animation now,
Mm,
like it's a hit
yeah.
animation, so like it's kind of like it's gonna come out regardless. So there may not be a way to like stop it,
Let's stop it.
where like
Oh
before
man.
she was sitting there a little bit vulnerable. She had to either end it like without the full healing effect, like maybe she'd only get part of the effect, or she could get punished if somebody let it rock the whole way and maybe get hit a little bit. But if it's an animation, how that's going to work. So
Right.
it'll
Right.
be
Yeah,
interesting to
that'll be
see.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It will. It will. Yeah, man. I went on and got that Fatal Fury, man. Fatal Fury. I really liked it. I know you didn't like it that much. I don't know if you didn't like it or
I mean,
not.
I
You
didn't
just
play
wanted
it
to give
enough
me
to
a
make a
message.
judgment, but
Yeah,
again,
it's pretty cool.
I'm
I like
hooked
it. I
on
like it.
Monster Hunter, and I'm playing the hell
Yeah,
out of that and whatever. So
yeah,
there's some more update stuff supposed to come out this month and next month, I think, and
yeah.
in that. So I'll be playing that. But yeah, I saw today on I don't know what tournament it was. There was some event going on. Was it PAX or some kind of expo or something? Like Yipes and Justin were doing like a commentary for Marvel 2, and then I
Okay.
saw like a Marvel 3, Ultimate Marvel 3, and then Justin and some other guy were doing the top 8 for City of the Wolves tournament. So like this
Yeah,
is basically the first official, I think, full roster tournament since the game's been out, and they're in a rush to do all that because they just announced all the on that last button check they did. They were talking about all the that like KOF or whatever SNK released the
yeah,
official how to enter the tournament, and the different prizes, and like first gets like 1.5 mil, and then it's
yeah,
2.5
man.
mil in total for for everyone, and
Man, they showing out that prize money, boy.
yeah,
Man, whew, yeah, that's beautiful. See that
yeah,
they can make that much money now.
I know.
You know. Yeah, it's so funny. You were just telling me about we were talking about Chris G, New York Chris G the other day.
Hmm.
Fucking Google be listening, man. Fucking Chris G popped up in my feed. And he was playing Fatal Fury. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, Google be listening,
Oh yeah,
man.
there's no doubt. And the search
Yeah,
algorithm
man.
too. Anytime you search something, next thing you know, you see it in Facebook, you see it in YouTube ad for it.
Yeah,
It's just everything.
yeah. Sure.
But
But yeah, man.
all right, man. Well, I appreciate being able to talk about a few things, and this is
Oh, for
kind of
sure, for sure.
a nice inaugural episode that I'll post up at some point here. I
Yeah,
may delay, when I put it up,
that's cool.
because of reasons, but
Yeah, I got it.
um,
Yeah,
but when I do, and it'd be cool. I'll try to, maybe we can talk or text, and maybe with an idea of what we're gonna name it
yeah.
and
Talk
stuff like
about
that, and
yeah.
different stuff like that. But yeah, man, for sure.
That was my
I'll hit
next
you up.
question. What
Maybe
we're gonna name
tomorrow.
it?
Or, yeah, I had a couple ideas, so I'll definitely text you, or we'll talk. Either later or this weekend, or during the week. Whatever, and touch base
Okay.
on it and stuff. But yeah, man. So what you got up for the rest of the night?
Well, what time is it? It's 8:30. I'm probably gonna hop on the game for a minute, and
Gotcha.
yeah,
What, KOF?
yeah, I'm hopping on KOL
Nice.
practicing. They had some a few updates. Use a couple of infinites. Just well, one
Who are
infinite
you
was just
playing? Who's your main character you're liking?
I'm using Marco and I'm using Terry.
Okay.
Yeah, those two, yeah,
That's what's
But
up.
Marco plays like a art fighting character.
Yeah.
Terry is Terry. You know, yeah, pretty cool, man. I love the combo structure. I love how you can get combos break. You can like in the feint. At first, I was kind of confused on how the feint system worked, but yeah, I see how it makes you plus, and you can just keep combos going. And yeah, it's a cool little system.
Yeah.
How they got it.
Well, I'm excited, even though
Yeah.
I'm not playing it. I'm really excited to see how Chun and
That's right. I
Ken,
forgot they were coming.
how
Yeah,
they translate. Because like the whole big little controversy, or not really controversy, but that one guy was saying like, SNK, how you gonna let Capcom do your characters better than you? That's saying that the Mai is
really.
better in Street Fighter than she is in KOF, or she's more focused on, I guess, that she's kind of lost in the cast roster in City of the Wolves, that she doesn't really stand out a whole lot or something. And I'm like, well, you never know how. Like, I'm really excited to see how Ken and Chun look, their animation style, their art style, how
Yeah.
they translate into an SNK game.
Right.
And again, we're all kind of, I mean, I feel like the talk has been all about that, but when this first happened, Max was speculating, and everybody was thinking to themselves like, does this confirm CVS 3? Like, because I think
That
that's
would
the
be.
dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream,
That
is
is.
like
Yeah.
new generation graphics CVS 3. And like, if they're
Yeah.
to rebalance some of the grooves, if they keep like, if they keep it similar with like 5 or 6 grooves or something, but maybe they tweak some of them a little bit, that'd be messed up. Is one of
Yeah.
Capcom's grooves that they put a Marvel 2 groove and super jumps and
Oh man, I don't know.
wave dashes, like, yeah. But
Right.
who knows? But it's crazy though that,
Yeah.
like, to me, I always thought it was wild that in CVS 2, and I guess CVS 1 too, but like that, in the same game you have characters running or hopping, doing that little dash, like, because
Oh
like,
yeah.
if you picked SNK groove, or let's say in CVS 2, if you picked like whatever, K groove, or N groove, or whatever it was, you had that SNK style run where you'd just be running, full screen Zangief with a run. It's like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Right.
But
Yeah, man.
who
Okay.
knows? I'm hoping. I mean, that would really get me excited. Like a new Marvel. Did you see that
Yeah,
new
man.
video with Max going over the new music after that new update? And they added 4 new tracks, and he's like, 4? Like 4 new tracks that they
That's right.
added,
That's right. To the,
and then
you
and
know
all
what?
of them are like related to a leader of a squad. So like, one is a
Really?
Cyclops, one is Captain America, Captain Commando, and the other is Jin. So Jin is like the leader of the bots, or whatever it is, the game he's from, the battle bots or whatever. And then
Oh yeah, yeah,
Cyclops, leader of the X-Men, Cap, obviously leader of the Avengers, and then Captain Commando, kind of the leader of Capcom in a way, but also he's got his little band of misfit group, the mummy and the baby and the whatever, that
Oh yeah,
do the
yeah.
super when he does it, that he's the leader of. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that I guess one of the titles is something like like, dreams reunite or something, or something that kind of made it seem like, hey, maybe they're hinting at Marvel 4. That would be amazing. So
Man, would it? I
so
think right now I think Disney they need a win right now.
yeah, for real.
These Marvel characters, and Marvel vs. Capcom, new Marvel vs. Capcom game would not be a bad idea. Yeah.
For real.
But yeah, buddy, I'm gonna have to get ready to get off. And like
All
I said,
right.
I'm also waiting for this package. So
All right. Sounds
just
good, man.
yeah. Give me a text tomorrow. You know the way we'll finish this up.
All right.
This is just the beginning, buddy.
All right. Sounds good. All right, man.
All
Later.
right. Yep. Later.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for our episode here of our first podcast with me and my friend Lamar. The title will be when I post it. I'll put what we're calling it. But for right now, like I explained in the beginning, it's basically just a podcast about life, relationships, maybe work, maybe pop culture, maybe a little tiny bit of news, gaming related stuff, all that, kind of all in one, just kind of whatever we want to, shoot the shit about. So, all right, we will catch you next time. Thanks.